Okay, good evening and welcome to Creating the Life You Want with Jamie Malachowski Hindman, class of 2009, moderated by Matt Curran, class of 1992. I'm Susan Kreischer, Associate Director of Alumni Relations. Before I turn things over to Matt to officially introduce Jamie, I want to welcome several Susquehanna staff who are joining us tonight, including Melissa Kimura, Vice President for Advancement, Becky Bramer-Toth, Associate Vice President for Advancement, Chris Markle, Senior Advancement Officer, Jody Swartz, Administrative Assistant, Stephanie Veit, Director of Alumni Relations, and Brady Galisi, Director of IT Infrastructure and Operations and WQSU Staff Advisor. If you have questions for Jamie, please use the Q&A feature to submit them. She'll do her best to answer all of the questions at the end of the session. Tonight, Jamie will share practical tips to help you identify what you would like your life to look like, whether it's building your dream house, spending more time with family, feeling consistently at peace, or some other dream. Jamie will explain how to develop a plan to get you there. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Matt Curran. Matt graduated from Susquehanna in 1992 with a degree in finance. He has many fond memories of his time at Susquehanna, but probably the most special one is meeting his wife, Jane Peterson Curran. They live in Cranberry, New Jersey with their 3 children, Emily, Jessica, and Troy. Matt earned an MBA from Crummer Graduate School of Business at Rollins College in 1996 and is the Senior Vice President of Sampo International. A regular attendee at homecoming and regional chapter events in New Jersey, he was a natural choice for Susquehanna University's Alumni Board, which he joined in 2019. I understand that Jamie had something to do with this. Do you want to tell us more about that, Matt?
Well, thank you, Susan, for the introduction. And yes, this show is all about Jamie, and she was the one who got me involved with the Alumni Board. So about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, she was out on the recruiting trip to recruit some new alumni, and she was with Becky and Devin, and myself and Jacob were the new recruits. And, I was probably going to do it anyway, but Jamie really had a great way of making me feel valued, making me feel important, making me relax, feel like my opinion counted. And not only was it counted, but that it was needed. And she really put me at ease at that situation. She gave me confidence. So thank you, Jamie, first of all, for that. I know I've told you before, and I know that we're all in for a great webinar tonight because, Jamie has a lot of great information to share with us. And, she is awesome. And I'm very honored to introduce you all to her. Although full disclosure, I did not know how accomplished she was at school and after school. So this is going to take a while. There's a lot of things she did at Susquehanna. So very proud to introduce you, Jamie. So Jamie graduated in 2009 and with a degree in accounting. She was a cheerleader, a member of the Women's Rugby Club. She was in the Sigma Kappa sorority, the accounting club, the marketing club, the Student Government Association, Student Activities Council, Students in Free Enterprise, InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, Omicron Delta, Alpha Lambda Delta, and she also spent a semester in London. So that is really pretty cool. Nice work there, Jamie. So after her very busy and engaging time at Susquehanna, she began her career in international audit as a supervisor and a manager at McConley and Asbury. And she spent the last 13 years as a CPA, a technical accountant and subject matter expert, most recently in accounting policy, technical accounting for Corteva AgriScience. Jamie didn't stop there, of course. So she also currently holds or has held several leadership positions outside of her accounting career. She is the Vice President of Public Relations and the Vice President for Membership of the Toastmasters International. She's also the VP of Finance and an advisor for the advisory board of Susquehanna University Sigma Kappa sorority chapter. And she is also the Vice President of Susquehanna's Alumni Board. So with all that going on, and in 2016, with her very successful career in full swing, she really maybe wasn't quite feeling her best physically. So she knew there was a time and a challenge and a need to make a change, rather. And she thought others might also. So she created a team called Team Positively Healthy, which is a support group for members of Beachbody. And being the group leader motivated her to really keep herself accountable and stay on track. So she remarkably lost 100 pounds, congratulations. And she learned a lot about the power of setting goals, and developing a plan to reach those goals. So today, like I said before, we're very fortunate to have Jamie here with us to share her knowledge and her experience and the results with setting, planning, and achieving goals. So welcome, Jamie, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you, Susan. Thanks everyone for being here. I am so excited to be here today to talk about how to create the life that you want. I'm honored to be here, and I want to thank Susquehanna, the whole Susquehanna community and the alumni office for having me here tonight. So let's jump right in. And I think you can all see my screen, but if you can't, just let me know. So when we talk about creating the life that you want, what does that really mean? I'll refer to this as the life by design. And so to me, you could either lead life by default, meaning you can just live your life and whatever happens, happens. And that works really well for a lot of people. Or you can live your life by design, meaning you get to live your life by your rules. And to me, there are two different buckets for it related to this. What does your life look like? And how do you create that life? And the really important thing to me is that living your life by design really does increase your happiness and your sense of purpose. And as Matt alluded to, back in 2016, I was at a job and I didn't love it. And I was really missing that sense of purpose and was really missing something. And from there, that's how I founded Team Positively Healthy. And it was really through that experience and through what I learned as the leader of that team, I really learned how to design your life and how important that is. And it wasn't until that moment that I really figured out that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I'm here today to let you know that you can too. And I know that it's really cheesy and corny, but I truly, truly believe that you can do anything that you put your mind to. It might not be easy, but it is 100% achievable. And because you all went to Susquehanna University or work there, you all have a leg up on everyone else.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely, right? Absolutely. We have great community, we have great resources and tools, and we all have had an excellent education. So today I want to share some tools with you to figure out what you want, how do you want your life to look, and how to get there. So truly you can lead your best life. So before we jump into what and how, I wanted to share 3 principles for pursuing your life by design. I call them the 3 R's. 1, be realistic. 2, be ready to do the work. And 3, be resilient. So being realistic, really this pillar and this principle is about being honest and thinking about why do you want this? Why do you want the element that you have put in front of you? And when we talk about being realistic, it's being realistic with your plan and your goals. But again, I said you can really achieve anything, but when I'm talking about being honest, it's being honest with your plan. And so you might have to gut check yourself a couple of times and making sure that you're being realistic. And then the second point is, why do you want this? Understanding and knowing why you really truly want the life that you are setting out to design is incredibly important. So for example, if I say that I want to lose 10 pounds, okay, so if I want to lose 10 pounds, why do I want to lose 10 pounds? Is it because, I say, okay, Jamie, I want to lose 10 pounds because I want to fit in a pair of jeans. Okay, well, why do I want to fit in a pair of jeans? Because I feel great. Why do I want to feel great? Because I know that when I feel great, I'm actually healthy. Well, why is being healthy important to me? It's important to me because I want to be the best mom I can be and be around for a really long time and be able to play with my kids and my grandkids. Well, that reason is a lot more powerful than I just want to lose 10 pounds to fit in a pair of jeans. And so that's why knowing why you want the life that you want to design, why that's so important. So the second principle is be ready to do the work. And so this is, again, like I said, you can achieve anything that you want. You can design the very best life that you can imagine, but you have to be ready to do the work. And so this pillar entails learning being a constant sponge of information, planning, prioritizing, because when you think about your dream life, there's a lot of different elements to it. And so it's important to prioritize how you want to attack that. Acting is critical. Reflecting on how things are going and where you might need to update your plan is also important. The third pillar is just being resilient. Don't quit. Be flexible and determine what are acceptable sacrifices. So for example, if I want to, a sacrifice might be, if I have a specific goal and I'm really busy throughout the week, I might need to use Saturday to spend time on that goal or spend time on designing that piece of the life that I want. And so whether that's working a second job or whether it's volunteering or doing something, I might have to choose that and sacrifice watching Netflix all day or watching something like that, which I'm a big fan of. And there's a time and a place for it, depending on what your priorities are and what you're willing to sacrifice.
That's really pretty cool, Jamie. Just to jump in real quick, we all love watching Netflix for sure. I think the 3 R's are fantastic. I mean, the realistic piece is it really also hits home to me. And just in my day-to-day life of working, we, as an underwriter, we always ask a question, and then our job is to question that answer. And that's just how you laid this out. You literally just laid that out in great detail with the genes to looking good, the feeling good, all that detail is fantastic. And then even jumping into the second piece, the ready to work. I mean, it's just being accountable is really a big aspect of that. And I love the resiliency, don't quit. We all have opportunities to quit. That's the easy way out. So stick to it. I love it. Nice, great. I love the 3 R's. Great start to this.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Absolutely. And like you said, with the acting part, it's hard, right? It's hard to get motivated, to find a time to actually act. And so here, Melanie Mitro is an up and coming superstar in my mind, but she is an entrepreneur and started her own business. And I've been fortunate enough that she's been one of my mentors, but she said that you don't just create the big vision. Action is where 90% of people fall short. And so you really have to think about your vision and you have to connect it to the work that has to happen. And so that is just really key. And even myself, when I have these big ideas and these big dreams, acting is the hard part. And so I can relate to that as well. So now if we jump in and we say one of the 2 buckets that I mentioned earlier is, what do you want your life to look like? And so a couple of things to consider. One, consider what your timeline is. When you think about what you want your life to look like, you can develop your life plan. You can design your 5-year life plan. You can design 1 year, weekly or daily. And when you do that, that'll be important because you will want to come back to your life design and reevaluate what it looks like and reevaluate where you are and what kind of changes you might want to make to that design, because we all change, we all grow, and different challenges and opportunities present themselves. So you want to think about your timeline. And then you also want to consider all of the different elements of your life, right? So if you think about your life that you get to design, that you get to decide who is in your life, where do you live, what activities fill your day, what do your financials look like, and what do you worry about? Because we're all going to worry about something, it's human nature. But you get to choose what you worry about, right? So worrying about your dog, or worrying about your job, or worrying about your financials, or worrying about what color shoes to wear that day, right? Like you get to think about what you want to worry about. And then by default, you decide what you're not going to worry about, right? So if you have a priority to make sure that your financials are strong and you have a strong set of financials, then you're saying you don't want to worry about that, and that you will make sure that that is part of your life by design.
So, hey, Jamie, so when you go through this process, are you doing this daily when you get up in the morning? Are you looking at it more weekly? How do you make this part of your life?
So that's a great question, Matt. And so I do 2 different things. And so one, I have kind of like my big picture life design, right? Life by design. But then I also do I kind of almost do it daily as well, right? So tomorrow, for example, I think about like, all right, if I get to pick my perfect day tomorrow, using the tools that I have, right? Like I have a 2-month-old, so I'm not saying I'm going to, fly off to Paris and and do that or anything like that. But if I say, okay, I want to wake up before the baby wakes up, I want to work out because that makes me feel good. I want to do X, Y, and Z to make tomorrow a great success and to make me really happy and to make my baby happy and to make, our family happy. So I do it in 2 different ways. I do it right now, I do it daily. And then I also have this bigger picture. So it really just depends on what phase of life I'm at, because sometimes I do it on different frequencies as well.
Cool.
Yeah. And so the other part of it too is when you think about all those different elements of your life and you think about what you want it to look like and what different elements you want to be a part of your life by your design, what I find helpful is also to organize the elements into categories, because when you do that, a lot of times when you act to fulfill or to achieve one element, you'll also fulfill a different element. So you might kill a couple birds with one stone, if you will. And so as you do that, you also want to understand why those elements are important. So I call that like the root cause why as well. And we talked a little bit about that earlier. So some categories might be like financial stability or your mental health or volunteering and giving back and things like that.
And those are all things that you or anyone who's working on this project themselves would set up their own priorities. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And so that's important too, because we all have different priorities and we all have different ideas of what the best life is for each one of us. Mm-hmm. So then once you know what you want, then the question is, well, how do you create your design for life? And so these are 7 steps that I recommend going through. 1, just brainstorming different ways you can achieve each element or category. So if you say you want to be financially independent, there's 100 different ways you can get there. They're all, some will be easy, some will be really hard, but you get to brainstorm. So I just recommend to put it all on a piece of paper and brainstorm how you can possibly achieve that particular element. Then I recommend setting up an action plan. So pick a couple or 1 or 2 or whatever's appropriate from the first step and set up an action plan. And again, as you go through each of these 7 steps, it's important to revisit the 3 R's to make sure that everything is realistic, that whatever you're going to put down in your action plan, that you can actually achieve it and you have the tools that you need to do the work. And then again, you'll want to be resilient as you go through this as well. So the 3rd step is to prioritize, because at this point, you probably have a ton of different ideas, a ton of different elements that you want to work on. So do you want to work on your financial stability first, or your mental health, or whatever category you deem appropriate and most important to you, you have the opportunity to prioritize. And then step 4 is kind of go back and make your action plan even clearer and more detailed. So when you get to this step, ask yourself, can you be more detailed or clearer in your action plan? Can you add specific dates, or can you how can you quantify your specific action plan? Because that will really help you, 1, achieve it, and 2, make sure that you can hold yourself accountable to achieving it as well by that specific date or by that specific quantity, depending on how you quantify it. So once you have your plan, you'll want to act. And I do want to share that this step 5 sometimes can move up and down the list. We don't want it to move too far down the list so that you don't ever act, because the one thing here is when you're thinking about your life by design, a lot of times, even for me, it's such a big, monstrous goal and big monstrous task to do. Sometimes it's easy to get paralyzed in the planning phase, because sometimes it's easy to think that you have to have everything to be perfect before you act, but that's not true. Little, small, actionable steps are huge and is really what helps move your plan forward. So then step 6 is just to always reflect and reevaluate how things are going. How is your plan going? Are you able to act on your plan, or do you have to reevaluate your plan? How are you doing with your overall plan, with your overall design? Is there something there that doesn't quite fit anymore based on circumstances that have come up in your life? So it's important to reflect and reevaluate as you go. And then 7, update your design. You're in charge. The cool thing here is you are the boss, right? You're the boss of your own life, and you get to update your own design for your life. And that's the exciting part. You get to grade yourself and you get to do whatever you want. And so
that is really impressive. So if you're doing all this, let's say you know someone who's maybe a little more of a procrastinator. How do you even get to step 1? You know, because we like to all design our life, but maybe we can't get to that first step to get even through to 7 of them.
Absolutely. Well, and something that I personally do and that I recommend is to pick one thing. You could either pick something that would be the most meaningful to you, or even the easiest, whatever you would probably be able to just start. Because once you start and you do this for one element, you'll see how successful you'll be, and then you'll want to do it with other elements. So whether it's your physical health or your mental health or your financial stability, like whatever would be the most impactful, just start somewhere, and it'll be amazing where this goes.
I like that. Great ideas. You know, I love what you said too about breaking up the whole piece into smaller parts and focusing on some of those smaller parts first to really get yourself going. Love it.
Yeah. So, and with that, Matt, that's actually a really great question. So for an example, so let's say, so I kind of put together this example here. So let's say that we have a 5-year plan. So let's say this is a 5-year plan. So I kind of broke it up into different pieces. So what is the idea? What are those elements that we talked about? Why and how? And so here, let's say that the idea is that I want a fulfilling life with limited financial stress.
Sign me up.
Yeah, right. And so then if I think about, what does that mean? What will it take for me to do that? I have 4 different elements. So I have spend more time with family and friends, because that will help me lead a fulfilling life. And the next 2 will help me lead a fulfilling life too. So learning and growing each week, as well as contributing, helping organizations and helping other people. And then also, I'd like to be paid well, because that will help with my limited financial stress. So these 4 things will help me lead a fulfilling life with limited financial stress. So then again, we talked about why is this important? So for me, this is important because if I can do these 4 things, I will lead a fulfilling life with limited stress. I will be happy. I will feel like I will have a sense of purpose. And I know that will help me lead my best life. And so how can I do this? So there's a handful of different ways that I would be able to do this. One of which could be to find a job with a good work-life balance at a competitive company with mentors that pays appropriately and also allows for volunteer work. And so I know that when I would go to, think about my life, if I'm career or job oriented, I can look for a job with these criteria to make sure that it checks these boxes, because if it does, it should allow me to have some of these elements in my life to ultimately fulfill my idea. So that's kind of how I reverse engineered I reverse engineered what I wanted to how do I get it. So that's one example. There's a couple other examples here. I don't know that we need to necessarily go through them, but there's just a couple that, another idea is time with loved ones, those I can help and those who help me level up, thinking about who do I want in my life and why do I want them in my life and how do I make my life so that I can spend as much time with those people as possible. So whether that's my family and friends or people at work, because I know that most of us have to work. And so we want to make sure that we work with people that we enjoy because we spend a lot of time with them. And so then the last one was just the ability to see family, friends, and visit the beach on the weekend, and also be near available jobs. And so for this particular one, it's where do you want to be? And so if I was thinking about where I want to be, my whole family's up from the Scranton, Pennsylvania area. So when I filled this out, I said, I want to be within 2 hours from them so I can be close to family, but I want to be near the beach. And I also want to be somewhere where I know there'll be a strong job market. And why do I want to do that? Is because I want to see my family and friends, because they're important to me and they help me lead a great life. And so the answer to that conundrum is to live on the East Coast, because it's near the beach and it's near my family. So that's kind of how I got there.
It's funny how you're closer to the beach than you are your family, but that's a whole nother thing we could talk about later.
I know, especially in Delaware. I know. So I can probably see the beach more than my family.
That's right.
Always a good thing.
But seriously, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put it into the Q&A chat item on the bottom of the Zoom, and we'll get to those later. But if you think of something, put it in there. So yeah, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. No, that's great. So this is just an example of when you think about what do you want your life to look like? What are the different elements of it? Think about why you want each of those elements, and then think about how you can do it, because the how should check off each of the different elements that ultimately support your ideas. And so in conclusion, again, you are free to choose what you want to make of your life. So Sean Covey said that, and I truly believe it. And so in summary, just think about what do you want? What do you want your life to look like? Break it down into different elements, figure out how to achieve each element. And this is obviously a lot easier said than done, but in today's age, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have Google, so we can truly learn how to do most things on the internet. And maybe more importantly, we do have our Susquehanna University community, and it's amazing how supportive and encouraging our SU alumni community is. I always say that we all are small, but we are mighty. We're small in number, but we are passionate about helping one another and helping students. So don't forget about that resource as well.
Absolutely. So I think we're like 21,000 alumni strong. So we're growing every year, and you're right. The network of the alumni is broad, and it's also personalized. So are you able? This has been great. You're holy. I love the 3 R's. This whole design your life is fantastic. And someone like yourself who's been able to live this, are you currently living the life exactly how you designed it, or have you kind of wavered back and forth and changed it up a little bit? How does that look today, as maybe you take a look at the overall presentation you just gave?
Absolutely. So I would say no, I'm not living it exactly as I planned. Right? Life happens, family things happen, and we're in a global pandemic. So that's a great example where we could have the best laid plans and something could happen and throw it off. But when that happens, what I like to do anyway, what I like to do is take a step back, reflect, think about what my new goal is or my new vision for my life is, and think about if I need to change it because of these new circumstances. So do I need to change an element, or do I need to change where I'm going or what I want? And because we're in charge of our own life, we get to change our mind. If I want to change my mind tomorrow and wanted to do something else, we can. Again, it's easier said than done, but we do have that power. So it's not all gone to plan, but because I'm just constantly reflecting and changing and revising, it's pretty on track with where I wanted it to be from where I set it up.
Right, for sure. Now that's great. I love the idea of continually to reevaluate it. That's very important. So Jamie, one question that just came in is, how do you drill down for working on what is really meaningful to you instead of what's expected of you? I think that's a great question.
Absolutely. That's a really good question, Dee. So what I would say is, if I were to think about my life, if I were to kind of take a step back and think about my life and look at it and say, was I happy? did I actually do what was meaningful to me? Did I do what helped others? Or if I kind of think about what my core principles are as a person, like me personally, and if I think about what my principles are, and if I can say, yes, what I've done was true to who I am and was true to what my core principles are, regardless of social pressures, then I could say that I was able to do things that were really meaningful to me, as opposed to what was expected. And that is really hard, one, to know the difference between, and two, to actually do and pursue what's meaningful to you versus what society expects. So that's what I would say. Just making sure you're true to who you are. And if when we're 80 and 90 years old, Steve, when we look back and we say, yep, we did things that made us happy and what was meaningful to us as opposed to what everybody else wanted, then I think we'll be in good shape. Matt, what would you say? How do you differentiate the two?
Well, first of all, that's a good question for me. I don't do social media, so it's very easy to not succumb to that kind of pressure. And I happen to I'll say this a bunch of times, but I happen to see David German, another fellow alumni board member, who did a webinar maybe a month ago or so, and he talked about how, which I thought was great. A lot of things he said were great, but he said that people only post things that are fantastic, or they only show the best part of their lives. So it makes all this, the stress keeps amping up higher and higher because you have to try to keep up with what you see online. So my thing is, I'm not online, I'm not on social media, and then I also would suggest don't pay attention to it. And like you said, live your own life and be true to yourself. I mean, it is just critical to have the self-confidence to know that what you're doing, and to know your end game and have an exit strategy for where you are to get to that point is just really good. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. So great. That was a great question. We do have another question in here. So this comes from Amy. It says, Jamie, thank you for sharing these strategies with us. I'm curious, what brought you to these methods in your own life, and what in your life you directly credit them to?
It's a really good question, Amy. So I would say, so I can't take the credit for coming up with the life by design idea. So when I was unhappy at a job I was at back in 2016, it was a great job and I learned a lot, but I actually didn't have an opportunity to lead people. And that apparently to me is really important. And I didn't really realize that until I had that job. And so there was no opportunity for me to lead, and there was only so much I could learn at that job. And so after a while, I wasn't fulfilled, and I kind of lacked my sense of purpose and knew I was really missing something. So because of that, I founded Team Positively Healthy, so that I can empower people to lead positive and healthy lives, and I can fulfill that leadership need that I wanted to be able to help other people. And through that team creation, one of the things that was really important to us as a team was to make sure that we were always growing and always learning. And so it was through that self-development and self-improvement that the Life by Design concept came across my Instagram account, actually. And so it was through there that I was really able to learn about Life by Design. And by doing that, that really opened my eyes to what's possible and how to reverse engineer anything that you want. And so that's really where that came from, and where how I stumbled upon that. And it's just been it's quite frankly changed my life, that concept. And so I'm very thankful and grateful for it.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, you are a great leader. I've just seen in the interactions we have, and really appreciate you sharing all that with us. That's really incredible. So one of the questions that came up is, what does happiness mean to you? I mean, I know you're a great leader. You find joy in that, but there are other things that you define happiness. What else helps you to define happiness?
Great question, Miss Sandra. So I would say, to define happiness, being with my fellow Susquehanna alumni, of course, right? Being at Susquehanna University, it just feels like home. It's that sense of peace for me. So when I'm happy, I'm at peace, and I'm not stressed. I'm just relaxed. And so that's why I love the beach. That's why I love being with my friends and family, the ones who don't stress me out. But just being at peace is really what happiness means to me. That's a really great question.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the happiness to me is similar, where it's you got to be around people you love and you trust and you feel comfortable with, and that really helps. There's always stress even with that, but it always helps ease that, and it puts you in a good position to move forward. And we do have another question already. This is awesome. So we have a question here. It says, how do you keep your life design organized and in the forefront of your mind? And do you have any organizational tools that you would recommend?
Mhm. Yeah, so this is depends on what works for you. And what I would say, what works for you to keep track of other things in your life will probably work well here. I really love Excel. I'm in Excel all day for work. And so I'm a big fan of it because I can I can basically make a chart and then put different categories in it and then kind of track it by due date and different tasks that I have to do. And so Excel works really well for me. But something else that works really well for me is a vision board. And so I'm not really crafty. And so cutting out pictures of what I want in my vision board won't work for me because I'll never do it. And so my husband and I actually have this big board in our kitchen, and we just put sticky notes in there in different categories. And so that has been really helpful. That's probably been even more helpful than the Excel because it's visible, it's in our kitchen. It's literally in my husband and my handwriting. We have different categories, and that helps keep it organized. And it also helps keep it in the front of our mind because it's in our kitchen. And we also have something, another sticky note in the top right-hand corner saying, how are we going to make sure we stay on track? And we noted to just, I think it's either every other Tuesday or once a month on the first Tuesday of every month to just kind of sit down and to look at it. And so I hope that's helpful.
That is helpful. And this rolls right into this next question where it talks about you juggle so much, which is amazing. You certainly do. And with such grace. Do you have tips on how to prioritize the areas in your life where you are most intentional? Do you do that on the vision board or you do that elsewhere?
That's a really great question, Laura-Lee. Let's see. How do I be intentional? So this is something that I try to do a lot. I try to prioritize, like every day, I'm constantly prioritizing. I'm saying what has to get done today, either because it has to get done because it's due to somebody, or it just needs to happen for my life to be, for my day to be a great day.
Sure.
I'm literally constantly prioritizing what's happening in my life that day. And then also when I look out further, for the week or for the month or for the year. And it's hard sometimes because a lot of times different things that I want to do or I'm interested in doing do conflict. And we only have so much time. And so just constantly prioritizing is how I do it. Matt, do you have any tips for this? How do you do this? I know you have your job.
I need to get more prioritized. That's for sure. As I said before, a great thing for me is my wife is very, very organized. So that really helps me become more organized. I have a better ability to be organized in my professional life. It's just a little easier for me to do it there. I have a little better boundaries there, but in my personal life, it's with kids and everything and all these different activities, it's a little more difficult. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have my wife who's fantastic. She does a lot. She's very organized, and we actually have a big family calendar, and it has everyone's activities. We talk about it once a month, and we update it as we go along. But she's really the in charge of that, and I contribute to it. But it's having that there really helps us prioritize activities and what we're doing. And we always also, to go back to the personal side of things, we prioritize date nights still even after 30 years together. So it's like we go out. We're going to a Sixers game tomorrow night. We'll go out to just a date night for dinner or just spend time alone. Whatever that case may be, we make it a habit, and you make it part of what you do, and that's how it becomes something that you can do continually versus just once in a while. So yeah, I need some more help prioritizing. This isn't about me. Let's go, Jamie.
No, that's awesome, Matt. And I love that you guys do date nights every week. And that's something I think that's so important. And I love that you guys do that.
Yeah. So I see, you are, we already talked about how active you are as a Susquehanna alumni. How has that helped you, being an active Susquehanna alumni, helped you with designing your life?
So I think probably two different ways. One, I'm constantly impressed and amazed at how successful and how kind and generous and just amazing our Susquehanna alumni are, that every time I get to meet a new alumni, it just makes me want to be a better person. It makes me want to level up. And so being an active SU alumni has helped from that regard, because I'm fortunate enough to be able to surround myself with amazing people, or the alumni. And then two, one of the things that I really enjoy is volunteering and helping others and being mentored, also mentoring others. And so Susquehanna students have enabled me to be able to help them. And so through the Susquehanna Alumni Office and the Sigmund Wise School of Business, I've been able to really volunteer for different events. And that fills my cup. And I hope that it's helpful for the students that I work with. But so being an active SU alumni has been able to help in both of those regards. And I'm very fortunate for that. And so this is a shout out to all the alumni who are active. And for any alumni who aren't active, there are a lot of ways to be able to get involved, whether it's being an advisor of a sorority or a club, or mentoring a student, or just asking a student or answering a student's question or email. Susquehanna is such a great place, and it's so special to all of us, I know, on this webinar tonight. And so giving back to Susquehanna is always a fun thing that I enjoy to do. So I encourage everybody to do it if that's what suits you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's so easy to give back. I mean, the funnier things that I think is kind of funny is that we get asked sometimes to write a welcome note to an incoming student or someone who's been accepted. And I find those to be really unique. And it's just a nice time. It's a very easy thing to do, just to write a quick, and it forces me, A, to practice my handwriting, but B, to really think about what it was like coming in as a freshman, and all we talk about designing your life. I mean, what a great thing this kind of information would be if we had that coming into college. There's a lot of things that are going on that you looking back at it, you wish you had a little more direction. But these are the kind of topics that I know are conversations that are going on at that age level as well. So we have a couple other good questions in here, and this is a nice one that came in. And I've had this happen to me, of course. And have you set any goals in your life that have fallen short?
Oh yes. So I think about fail forward. So I'm always trying to fail forward. I'm always trying to do those big scary, not always, but I try to do those big scary things, even if I'm going to fail, because if I fail, hopefully I'm failing forward and I learned something, and it'll just help me next time I do it. It'll help me do it better the next time. So with my CPA exam, those were atrocious, right? So to be a certified public accountant, you have to take 4 tests, and they're like 4 hours each. The books are like 1,000 pages. It's terrible. So I set goals to pass those tests the first time. I did not. It was terrible, right? Like I'm a smart girl, but those tests were atrocious. And so I set up goals to pass those the first time, and I did not. But I kept at it. I learned from it. I'm a CPA. I've been a CPA for many, many years. And so I just kept at it. And so I would encourage anybody who sets goals and fails, think about failing forward. And I was able to actually use what I learned from failing so many times to take another test my project management professional test last year, and use everything I learned from failing the first time for my CPA for that PMP test, and was able to be successful at that. So I always as failing forward.
That's great. That's really pretty cool. I Dr. Hobbecker doesn't like when I tell this story, but he helped me fail forward. He really showed me that I didn't want to be an accountant when I had him as a professor. So I didn't even get a chance to take those 4 tests, but I was very fortunate to move on to Dr. Amali and be in his finance class, and it turned out to be a really good thing for me. And I always thank Dr. Hobbecker for that, even though it wasn't maybe the best thing in my life at the time it happened.
No,
But yeah, fail forward, that's for sure.
that's it. Well, and Matt, and you've been, I mean, you're senior vice president at the company you work for. You have a great family. You're involved in the alumni board. What has, I would say that you're successful and you always seem to have a zest and love for life. Did all of that just happen, or did you design it like that?
Well, hey, you shouldn't be asking me any questions. This is ridiculous. I'm the moderator. No, let's not kid ourselves. No, I do not have this great organizational skill set, and I am probably more the life by default type of person than I am life by design. But I am also one that knows my deficiencies, and I'm very aware, and I need to be more. That's okay with what I'm doing, but I could be better and would like to do more life by design. So I think a lot of the things, for me, come down to, well, I don't know how successful I am, but I do have a great love for life and love to have fun, and I like to be around people. And I think surrounding myself around people that are better than I am has really been one of the things that has made me to have the opportunity to be successful. That's personally or professionally, socially, whatever, in my family. I think anytime you're able to surround yourself with good people, like you already talked about having a good mentor. I mean, I've had 2 really great professional mentors, and Paul and Brett, and they really helped and not only train me, but really were able to have me, put me down a career path that was really, it turned out to be, very, very promising for me. And without their sounding board or their confidence or their mentorship, I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, the same thing goes for obviously for my wife. Jane's been fantastic, and she really helps rein me in sometimes, and has the ability to help me focus on some things a little bit better, so I can come up with so we can together come up with a solution. And when that happens, we have a lot less collateral damage than if I just winged it or tried it myself. So yeah, I mean, it's about who you're with, setting up people you can trust, and I think that's what's helped me. And I think I could try to, I always try to work hard, but that doesn't mean you're going to get good results. But you need to work hard to set the foundation for the possibility to get good results. Doesn't mean you're going to get them, but without working hard, you're not going to get those good results. I really do believe in karma, and that if you do good things for others, good things will happen to you. And my mom always told us, do your best, and then, especially when no one is watching, do the right thing. So that's how I am. That's where we ended up.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That's really great advice. And I think mentors, it's awesome to hear that you had 2 really great mentors, because I think there's tremendously helpful and in karma. And I'm sure you've mentored some great, I'm sure there's been people that you've mentored. And so that karma just goes full circle right around.
Yeah, it does. It keeps going, and it goes all the way from, it started at Susquehanna. I was able to get my first job from an on-campus interview, thanks to Wayne Fisher, who was an alumni, and he was doing on-campus interviews, and I happened to, this was my 40th on-campus interview, and finally, someone said yes, But anyway, that's where it started, and when someone gives back to you there, and then you keep moving it forward for sure. But yeah, so anyway, back to you. Let's get off of this. This is too much. So we have another question for you, Jamie, and it's do you have an I can do attitude? I can do it all. Do you have an I can do it all mentality, or do you outsource some things, like a housekeeper, for instance?
Oh, Molly, that's a great question. So now as a mom, I know that I can't do it all, right? Like, I've never more help than I have in the last 2 months. It's crazy. And so even before that, and still outside of being a mom, I know that I can't do it all. It's hard for me to say no. And so that's something that I constantly have to work on, to be honest with you, especially at work. And so this is when I go back to work, because I'm still on maternity leave, when I go back to work, it'll be really interesting and incredibly important for me to be able to say no, because I can't work I can't work at night as much as I did before, because now I have a little baby to take care of. And so I think that'll be I'll constantly have to just be prioritizing, because I know that I won't be able to do it all. And I'll have to make sure that I'm very conscious about what I say yes to or what I say no to, because whenever I say yes to something, it's basically inherently saying no to something else. And so it'll just be important that I prioritize, because while I kind of have an I can do it all mentality, I know that that's not true, and that is something I have to work on. It's a great question.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Your answer, I really appreciate your answer. And it's learning how to say no is just as important and fulfilling as it is telling people yes. So really pretty cool there. Someone else asked about how we hear so much about the power of mornings, early exercise, meditation, etc. That can actually set the tone for the day. How does your morning look?
So I'll tell you about my morning before November 2020. So my mornings right now, I'm up all night with the little baby. He's adorable. I love him. But with my mornings, what I usually like to do is I like to get up and start my workout before I even know what's happening, before I can even talk myself out of it. And I tell myself I'll do 10 minutes, and then after 10 minutes, I'll quit. And I try to do that with anything, that 10-minute rule. If there's something I don't want to do, I'll convince myself to do it for 10 minutes. And if I don't want to do it after that 10 minutes, I can stop. So whether that's a task or a project at work or cleaning or doing my workout, I'll use that 10-minute rule. And usually after the first 10 minutes, I'm always wanting to continue with whatever that activity is. But for the power mornings that you asked about, I do like to work out. I do notice a significant difference the days I work out in the morning with the days that I don't. And then from there, I like to go to, when I'm working, I like to go to the office, make my list of the things that I have to do and prioritize them, and really spend the first hour or so doing the most important things that have to get done, because this way the day won't get away from me. And so right. I do love those power mornings.
Pretty cool. That's exciting. I am also a morning exercise person as well. It's otherwise you never find the time. At least that's what I've found for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So we have a few more questions here. We're probably not going to get to all of them, but we'll ask a few more. So Jamie, thanks for taking the time to enlighten us. How did you learn to humble yourself and to ask for help from those around you?
Somebody once, I forget where I learned this, but somebody recommended to me once to ask for more 5-minute favors, because people genuinely want to help people. So if you can ask other people for help, they feel good about being able to help you. And so that kind of helps me be more comfortable with asking for help, knowing that most times people like to help. So it depends on who you ask, but knowing that there's that element to it, that does help me. And especially if it's just a quick 5-minute favor, people get, at least me, I'm always super happy to help people. And if it only takes 5 minutes of my time and I can really help somebody, that's great. I'm all for it and I want to do it. And I think a lot of other people are like that as well. And so that's one helpful thing. But then knowing how to ask for help from those around you, sometimes it is really hard. But something that's helpful is that if you're coming from if you truly want to learn and truly want to know or truly need that help, it's okay to ask for it. Nobody can do everything. Nobody knows everything. And so it's just important to remember that, because we're all in this together. We're all trying to learn. We're all trying to grow. And so just going in it with that type of mindset is helpful, even though it's not always easy to ask for help, especially when you think you can do it, but you just don't have the time or the energy to do it. It's hard, but it's certainly helpful and valuable, and it helps you prioritize the more important things as well.
Absolutely. That's great. So we had actually a few questions that came in, still coming in, but one of them that came in earlier, which I like this question, is what are good ways to save money in your budget, especially if you're living your life by design?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So saving money in your budget. So I think the first thing that I usually do when I budget and recommend is to look at what you're spending versus the money coming in versus the money going out, and make sure that there's more money coming in than what's going out. And so that's the basis for a balanced budget. But when you think about how do you save more money in there, to me, it's all about prioritizing again, like figuring out what's most important to you. And if you need or want to save more, then you need to cut some things out. And something that helps me is thinking about the opportunity cost of what you're spending money on. So for me, if I find a sweater I want and it's $30, I'll say, okay, do I want that? Do I want to spend that $30 on that sweater? Or do I want to use that same $30 for something else, or to invest it, or to buy something else? And so thinking about that opportunity cost for me, because the $30 can only be spent once, is helpful to save money, because then it helps me prioritize what I'm spending money on, if that's helpful. Matt, do you have any advice on that topic?
Actually, I'm definitely a spender. So I would say the thing that probably helps me the most is to start off by giving more. So we start off with tithing, doesn't have to be to your place of worship, but just charity in general. If you can start and try to get to 10%, that's very difficult to get there, and try to get there. So if you give that off the top, then it reduces what you have left. But you feel so good about what you've already been able to give to others. And then with what you have left, you're more focused on it. We lose money all the time on different things you do, and it just happens. You just spend frivolously on stuff. But if you already take money off the top and give it to someone else, that makes you more focused on what you have left. So I would say spend more for others, and then you get more focused on yourself. So that's been something that's worked for us. And then, it's always good to have someone else watch what you're spending to give you a little more accountability. That's also good.
That's awesome, Matt. I love that idea of giving more to others first. That's such a great principle to have.
Yeah. So I'll thank my mom for that. She's another mentor, another, person in your life that does those kind of things for you. So yeah, it's really, really pretty cool. So yeah, so we're closing in on the end of this. Do you have any comments you want to do or to mention as we finish this off, Jamie?
I'm just really thankful and grateful that the Susquehanna Alumni Office enabled me to do this tonight. And Matt, so thankful for you for being a great moderator and letting me put you on the spot to ask you some of the questions, because I truly wanted to know what your response was. And many thanks to Susan for hosting us here tonight. And thank you all for joining and for all of your amazing questions. I get really fired up to share about living life by design and helping others. So please let me know if you have any questions. But I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight.
That's great, Jamie. Yeah, really, thank you. You did a fantastic job. It's awesome. And you did this whole life by design is a great concept, and you totally embody it, and that's really cool. I want to thank everyone tonight for joining us. Just so you know, the next session the next alumni speaker session series is going to be on Tuesday, February 8th at 7:00, when Lisa Reinberg and Marty Pinter will talk about the importance of networking throughout your lifetime. And we talked a little about that already. That is awesome. What a great topic that is. That's going to be a nice session for sure. Also coming up in February is the next alumni mini class, when Emma Flock, who's the department head of management and marketing at the Sigma White School of Business, will present the entrepreneurial mindset. This is going to be a 4-session course that will guide participants through a series of readings and activities to help them develop a more entrepreneurial approach to their lives and careers. Again, this dovetails perfectly off of this. So we should probably give Susan and others credit for setting these all up, starting with David's presentation last time to yours, and then on to Lisa and Marty. So great work by everyone. And, just so you know, that course is going to be held online Wednesdays at 6:00, starting on February 16th. So more information on those events and other events, always you can go to, www.sualum.com. And we are only a few seconds over, so that'll make everybody happy too. And again, great questions. Thank you, audience. We have over 30 people joining us. What a great time. And always, thank you very much, Jamie. Look forward to seeing you probably in February if you're able to get away from Matthew. Awesome.
Matt.
Good night, everybody.
Likewise. Good night. Thanks,
Bye.
Al.